My name's Cummings. I'm 38 years old, born in Kansas City, Missouri. I come from generational crime, generational addiction. It means the family that I grew up with was either getting high, involved with crime. We grew up poor, moved around a lot. At the age of 10, I was abused by a family member. This messed me up pretty bad. I lost trust in people. I couldn't trust my own parents, so I shut down emotionally. This led to me being an easy target to be bullied at school. I didn't want to make no friends. I didn't try to make any friends. I just shut down emotionally, isolated myself, and that made me an easy target to be bullied in school. So I suffered through that, and by the time of the age of 12 years old, I had thoughts of suicide, and I wanted to kill myself. Around that time, I started to experience with alcohol, smoking weed, and then by the time I got into high school, I started to make decisions that would affect the rest of my life. I started running around with the kids that were drinking and smoking and going to parties, lying to their parents about where they were at. So what I've learned in life is the people that you surround yourself with, you're going to end up doing what they're doing, and that's exactly what happened to me in high school. I started hanging around those kids that were drinking and smoking and going to parties, so I ended up drinking, smoking, and going to parties. By the time I was 17, I was arrested for my first felony at school in the principal's office by highway patrol. So now I'm kicked out of school, 17 years old, I'm a felon, I'm in jail, I'm addicted to drugs and alcohol. When I was released, I went back to the same people that I've always been around, that I knew that were still drinking, still using drugs, and so I started to use hard drugs and use heavier and use more. And by my early 20s, I was running with gangs, shooting up meth, stealing cars. I was a known car thief, and I had been booked into our local jail in Greene County Jail 34 different times. And now my identity is a needle junkie, meth head, car thief. I had a son in the middle of my addiction. I had a son that I abandoned for the streets, that I abandoned for drugs, I abandoned for crime, I abandoned for that lifestyle. And I left him to be raised by a single mother by herself. And I find myself again on my way back to prison. 2.5 years ago, somebody told me about Freeway Ministries. And I came through the doors at Freeway Ministries. I came through the doors homeless, with track marks up and down my arms, strung out on meth. My friend, which was an intern at Freeway at the time, told me about Freeway Ministries, and I come up there to get interviewed by Casey Merrick, and I meet John Stroop, and I come to the doors, like I said, strung out on meth, homeless. Nobody wanted me. I had nothing. It was so bad when I came through those doors. I remember when I came up there for the interview, I asked to use the restroom. I went to use the restroom, and I stunk so bad that I went in the restroom and I got soap, and I had to wash myself up before I could even go in there and do the interview because I stunk so bad. That's how bad I was off. So I had the interview, and I started to work my way into Freeway Ministries. I got accepted into the house, and by the grace of God, my parole officer revoked my warrant. And he let me work. He let me be accepted into the program. So now, here I am at Freeway Ministries. I'm in the Men's Discipleship House, and at Freeway, at the Discipleship House, we are in church. Anytime the doors are open, we are there. It's something I was never used to. I've never been in church. I've never been a part of a church. So now here I am in church every Sunday, twice on Sundays, Wednesdays, men's Bible studies. And I thought church people were weird. I couldn't understand why these people wanted to love on me, why these people cared so much. They'd say things like, how can I pray for you? How are you doing? Is there anything we could do for you? And I didn't get it, but once I sat back and I watched, they were pouring that same love they were pouring out on me, they were pouring out on each other, and I seen it was genuine, and I seen it was real, and I realized this was God's love being poured out on His people, through His people. And once I seen that, and I recognized that, I wanted that. I had to have that in my life. So now here I am getting loved on receiving this love that I've been looking for ever since I was a little boy. Finally finding that acceptance that I've been looking for my whole life. And then I was sitting under the preaching of God's word, and I could hear and I could understand now. Now that my walls were torn down, I could understand the gospel. And I heard that Jesus Christ He came down and lived a perfect life, a sinless, perfect life, and died a horrible death on a cross. So a needle junkie, meth head, car thief, deadbeat dad could have a new life. So I could be forgiven for everything I've done in my life. I could have a new life in Him, with Him, serving Him. And once I realized that, and I heard that on February 13th of 2022, I ran to the altar. I surrendered my life to Jesus Christ. I admitted I was a sinner, and I knew that Jesus died for me. And I confessed that, and I made Him Lord of my life. And so now I'm saved, and I'm a new creature, right? And the old has passed away, the new has come. But I've lived this whole life. Ever since I was 17 years old, I've been in through a cycle of incarceration, 20 plus years of probation, parole, prison. I didn't know how to live. I didn't know how to live a godly life. I didn't know how to be a Christian. And that's where the local church came in. Through Freeway Ministries, which is always connected to a local church. And my church was Crossway Baptist Church. I had men step up in my life. I had men come right next to me, step in my life, and show me how to live. Show me how what a husband looks like. I was discipled one-on-one by a man in the church. And he accepted me into his home and showed me how a husband treats his wife. He showed me how a father treats their child. I started serving wherever I can, cleaning up after services, cleaning up after freeway services, help taking out trash, mopping, cleaning it up. And eventually, I went to John Stroop and I said I wanted to do more. He looked at me and he gave me the keys to the church bus. The most of the times I've been arrested 34 different times, and most of those times are for car theft. And here we are, 6 months after being saved, John Stroop's handed me keys to a church bus. He took a car thief and turned him into a church bus driver, where I get to pick up kids all over our town. We go into the low-income apartments and pick up kids who's living the same similar childhood I lived in, and we get to bring them to church. We get to tell them about Jesus. We get to feed them, take them back home, give them that love that they're probably only getting one day of the week. And I had a son out there that I abandoned to be raised by a single mother. I chose drugs and crime and my addiction over him. Just like any child, he wanted his father in his life. And I wasn't there. Freeway Ministries showed me how to start a healthy relationship with him. I started writing him letters. And eventually he was able to come to church services with me. I was asked by Crossway Baptist Church to be a summer camp counselor. A needle junkie transformed into a summer camp counselor where they paid for my son to attend church with me in my cabin. And during that time, he surrendered his life to Jesus Christ. A generational curse just broken and shattered. I started serving youth at Freeway West, and just like John Stroop said, I was chasing God. I was chasing God, and I look over, and there was this woman. I said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And she said, "I'm chasing God." Fast forward a little bit, we start courting, and now I have a beautiful, godly wife. 2.5 years ago, I was a needle junkie, meth head, car thief, homeless on the street. I surrendered my life to Jesus Christ. He took that pain, He took that hurt, He took that addiction, He shattered it. He restored that relationship back with my son. He gave me a wife, and she has 3 boys, and now I have a godly wife. I have my son back, and God's given me 3 more sons. Shortly after getting married, I was put on staff at First Baptist Ash Grove as a youth pastor. So I thought I was gonna die in the streets, or I would die in a prison cell, but my God had another story. I surrendered my life to Jesus Christ, and He saved me. So if you find yourself hurt, broken, and thinking you have no hope, no future, surrender your life to Jesus Christ, and He can save you and He can transform your life.